So here's the thing about Hollyhock Mannheim, Guerrero Robinson, Zilberschlag, Sung, Fonzarelli, McQuack. She was kind of completely justified to leave Bojack. Yes, it's tragic. Yes, I absolutely hated watching the scene where he reads the letter she sent him. And yes, it is bad for Bojack's recovery. And yet, despite all of those things, I still feel that she ultimately made the right decision for herself. Sometimes you just have to do what's right for you, especially when you have someone like Bojack standing near you. But I'm not sure everyone feels this way, especially since Bojack is the main character, and I already made a video on why everyone sympathizes with him, so I wanted to elaborate on why I think this was the right decision for her character, even if it didn't provide us the happiest ending. Number 1. Hollyhock is still figuring out who she is. She has her own problems to work through. She clearly suffers from anxiety and has a stunted relationship with alcohol already from her close proximity to Bojack. When we see her alone at that party in college, she really struggles to maintain her composure, and when she returns to Bojack's house for the first time since leaving after being drugged, she is immediately overwhelmed with memories and has trouble controlling herself, lashing out and throwing Bojack's pills down the drain. In general, we can see that she really has trouble keeping her cool in hectic situations. And she has that same voice in the back of her head constantly nagging that Bojack does, from stupid piece of shit. She has a lot to deal with in her own mind and enough complex baggage of her own. She doesn't need Bojack's plopped on top of that. Plus, she had just gone through the entire journey of finding her mom and traveling to meet her. Weird we never find out how that goes, by the way. But this is extremely emotionally taxing for her, and a relationship with Bojack is just something else she's found along the way to what she was really looking for. All of this piles up, and I think taking care of Bojack and sticking with him through this really hard time would start to affect her own personal growth, which is why it might be healthy for her to distance herself from the topic. Number 2. Hollyhock has had many bad memories associated with Bojack. The drugging, his mother, lying about her mother, taking her to seedy locations to buy drugs, the Miles fiasco. There's a lot to unpack with her relationship with Bojack and the time she spent with him, even though season 4 did end rather positively. Even though we know that Bojack is trying his best, he does do some harm to her over the course of season 4 that he did apologize for at the end of the season, but it still stunted her relationship with him. Through Bojack, she gets a really close view of who he is and how hard he's trying to be good. But every time she turns elsewhere, she gets the sense that he has done unforgivable things in the past, and she never hears it from him. This, I think, is a large reason why Hollyhock cut him off at the end. He never told her anything he was trying to atone for. She knew about the alcoholism and his general assholey attitude, but she also saw close hand the reason for that, his cruel mother. But much of the other behavior she hears about from others pertains to his pattern of abuse with women, or actual specific instances of his drug and alcohol abuse and how it affected others. That is generally more extreme than the concept she gets from living with Bojack in that short amount of time. It's not just drugs and alcohol, it's everyone who's affected while using drugs and alcohol. And the time she spent with him was Bojack at a really high point. And thus, I don't think it's super unreasonable for her to want to distance herself from him. She needs space, and we don't even know if she distanced herself permanently. Maybe she needed time to process everything she's heard and work on herself to be able to forgive him. We're not sure she cut him off completely forever. We saw public opinion turning around in the last episode for him. Maybe Hollyhock's opinion could too. Number 3, Bojack is a lot of work for her. It's hard to be publicly involved with someone who people are currently debating about so prevalently in the public eye. You might not want to be seen with them for fear of what your acquaintances might think. Also, when the discourse about the person is so vicious, it can be tough to justify spending time with them. You know, this was a similar dilemma that Diane faced in season 5, where she said that she was very publicly Bojack's friend and was having a hard time keeping it that way when she finds out about the shitty things he did from other sources besides him. You might question whether or not you have like a moral obligation to leave the person as well, since everyone has stated that they should be ousted. Even if you know that they are struggling and trying to do better, it can be extremely difficult to keep the relationship alive. Not only this, but because of cancel culture and how widespread every issue is due to the media, her friends and nearly everyone in her school likely know about this issue, and her keeping contact with him publicly might have meant the end of some of her other important relationships, which she does need for her own growth. Number 4, her dads do not approve. Her whole life, she was raised by these 8 men and has trusted their opinion on nearly everything they've told her. It is obvious from the jump that Hollyhock is extremely connected to her fathers and loves and respects them a great deal. And they do not like Bojack. They were against her finding him in the first place, and none of them supported him after the whole amphetamine fiasco. She trusts them. and there's a lot of voices coming from their direction. I'm almost sure they were all telling her that she wasn't allowed to speak with him anymore, and that might have been what was written in that note. Who knows if it was actually her decision? And if it was, who knows how much of it was influenced by her father's opinions? It can be hard to keep contact with people your parents don't want you seeing, especially when there are 8 of them. And number 5, she did try really hard. You gotta give Hollyhock credit where credit is due. She doesn't dump him as soon as she learns from Pete Repeat what happened in New Mexico. There's a whole arc before she actually fully separates herself from Bojack, where she tries to keep a relationship with him on campus, even though it is insanely awkward for her. Naturally though, she is concerned about his involvement with dozens of college girls after hearing this story, and is understandably uncomfortable with his presence at times. You can't really blame her for feeling unsafe around him after everything she learned. What happened in New Mexico is really serious, and when you have friends that are around the same age as the person that was affected, it can make being around the instigator really inconvenient for you, and it can be hard to see that person in the same way ever again. Not to say that she dropped Bojack just because it was inconvenient, but a lot of these reasons are building up, and again, it gets really hard to be friends with someone when you are around people who could be affected by his negative behavior. She doesn't say that they can't talk anymore, but she does set some boundaries during that arc, and even the scandals notwithstanding, her much older brother being at her college campus does deserve some sort of boundaries. Even though it was adorable how hard Bojack was trying to vibe with her, studying rugby and all that. That was really cute, and I did feel bad for him, but I still think Hollyhock was right to put a little bit of distance between them at that time, and then further on, put more distance between them after hearing a little bit more, and the situation escalated to a new level. And of course, all of these reasons could combine to compel Hollyhock to write that letter that devastated him, but I still don't think she should be blamed or viewed negatively. She absolutely had a right to prioritize her own happiness and well-being, and I am proud of her for recognizing what she needed and having the courage to cut someone that she could no longer support out of her life. For now, at least. Like I said, there could be a coming back from this. We don't actually know what is written in that note, so I think it's odd that some people will make harsh judgments about Hollyhock from a letter that we don't even get to read. It could have been very delicately done, and she could have said that there might be a chance for them to have a relationship in the future. We just don't know what the ending was. It's not like Bojack did a 50 years later montage in its finale, because it's not that type of show. It just ended 1 year after what had happened. Hollyhock still isn't talking to him, but again, public opinion was turning around, so who knows where it could go from there. I just think Hollyhock was right to prioritize her own happiness, and I don't think that anyone should really be putting any sort of negativity onto this teenage girl for trying to grow and focus on her own priorities when she is in a very transitional part of her life. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/PosiTVty. That's PosiTVty. There you can get all of this content early. You get full reactions, and they are unblurred, so you can just watch the whole episode along with us, and you get to vote what you want to see on the channel, so it's a great way to get extra content for yourself, but also it really helps us out as a channel. It's a huge way for us to grow and make this channel into something that we can all be proud of. So consider supporting us there, but even if you just support us on YouTube, we are extremely happy about that and super grateful. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys for the next Bojack video, or any video. Watch my other ones. But let me know what you want to see next. I'll see you next time. Bye!